Hello YouTube, how are you doing? Welcome back. So in this video, I want to talk about a battle rapper by the name of Georgio Casper and the colorism, the pedophilia, the violence, the anti-blackness, the anti-black womanness, etc. that he spewed and projected against dark skin are a imaginary, non-existent, hypothetical dark-skinned daughter that his opponent does not have. And also, I'm not an expert on battle rap, but isn't it supposed to be like freestyle though? Aren't you supposed to like do it off the top of your head, not pre-write your raps? And like this rap doesn't even apply to his opponent. It applies like his opponent's daughter because he doesn't have one. It is like this could be applicable to you and your daughters. Which, yeah, I find that to be even more strange because, again, he's the one with the actual dark-skinned daughters. Georgio Casper has dark-skinned daughters. And he also believes that he isn't a colorist because he is dark-skinned himself, and probably because he has dark-skinned daughters, so he thinks that he can just say anything, and it not be colorist, right? Anything about dark skin, and it cannot be colorist, right? Of course, we know that's all bullshit, but he said that in like a live stream. The YouTuber Lovely T did a video about this as well, and I saw in her video that she had posted some of his live stream, and that was one of the things that he said in his live stream, right? As well as saying that his opponent doesn't have a daughter, which is like, well, that doesn't help you out. That actually makes it worse, because now it's even worse because how did a dark-skinned daughter even come into your mind? And also, like, honestly, I think it's like a bit like low-key feminine for him to even not only attack his daughter like that, or his opponent's daughter like that, imaginary, whatever, but also like it's almost like comparing, like, how women do sometimes with kids, like, oh, comparing kids with each other and things like that, and even sometimes treating children as accessories, but yeah, so I kind of thought that was a bit, low-key feminine of him to even like bring up, and not only bring up, he went, full force with it. It would have made more sense if he focused on his opponent's baby mama, girlfriend, wife, whatever, side chick. It would have made more sense for him to focus on, basically, his opponent's love interest or whatever. That would have made more sense. Yeah, it still would have been found derogatory and problematic, but it wouldn't be as bad. And it would make more sense, as I've said many a time already. How did the kids kind of get into this situation? And you do have to have a certain level of like comfortability, if that's a word, or feeling comfortable to even say some shit like that, and also feeling like, who's going to check them, like, yeah, I'm going to get into that as well, but pretty much right now though, it's just nevertheless like a continuation of the normalization of colorism, and I guess misogyny noir against black women, but more particularly darker skinned black women and children, in particular daughters, girls. And whether this is an isolated incident or not is irrelevant. Right. Whether this man is in the minority or not is neither here nor there. I personally do think that this, subhuman is in the minority. A very loud, vocal minority, but I don't think that this is an isolated incident. And the reason why this is a loud vocal minority is because no one really ever checks these dudes like that. Particularly other black men don't tend to check these dudes like that. It tends to be, well, it's a preference. Oh, well, he's not obligated to like, black women or dark-skinned black women. And, oh, well, you should just ignore him. He's a degenerate. He's a thug, right? And all those things are true, but nevertheless, you have to foster an environment, right, where you don't even feel comfortable saying that. That's the thing. That environment has not been fostered and perpetuated because obviously he felt very comfortable to say this, not only just in general, but also in public. And he was in a black social space doing this, and people were oohing and ahhing, and there were black men in the crowd and black women in the crowd too, you know. And I know some people are going to try and just write it off as just jokes and it was just battle rap. But the thing is, though, was it just jokes and battle rap? Because in order for jokes to really make sense and to, hit and to be funny or to do what jokes are supposed to do, if these are jokes, all right? And as well as for battle rap too. In order for all that to make sense, right? What he says and the jokes have to have some truth in them. And the thing is, it's like, is that how he views? Is that how he himself views dark-skinned women and girls? And again, he has dark-skinned women and girls. Well, at least dark-skinned girls as daughters. So wouldn't that be more of a reason saying, maybe I shouldn't say something like that, that, I don't want to, one day for my daughters to see something like this and think that, I'm being negative towards them or think lowly of them or something like that, right? Shouldn't that be more reason not to do it than to do it, right? And also, like, stating the obvious here, but he himself is dark-skinned. He's very dark-skinned. So why would that be like a place to go as far as like insults are concerned? As far as like negativity is concerned. Why would that even be a place to go to in your mind or in his mind? Why would he even feel comfortable saying something like that and perpetuating something like that? And and I think what hurts the most for the darker skinned women out there and girls out there is that, it's coming from your own, like directly your own. It's coming from a dark-skinned black man who's really supposed to be the protector, right? Who's really supposed to be protecting the dark-skinned black women and children from this type of stuff. And it's supposed to be uplifting the dark-skinned women and children, especially the daughters, right? So it does make you, it speaks to a deeper issue at play, you know, when it comes to, I suppose, the relationship that dark-skinned men and dark-skinned women have amongst themselves. And I'm not saying that every single relationship is like problematic, because I don't think that, but I do think there is a bit of some sort of an issue at play that I can't quite articulate between, I guess, the dark-skinned men collectively and dark-skinned women collectively. And this issue comes up now. You know, this issue is why we have Georgio Casper doing all this bullshit, right? And as I said previously, you know, word on the YouTube streets is that he actually has 2 dark-skinned daughters. And perhaps a brown-skinned daughter. You know, I don't know how his baby mama look or whatever. But that was something that he brought up in the battle rap too, about, oh, you know, his baby mama's, you know, light skin, cute as fuck, strapped, something like that, right? And he saying that, oh, his baby mama, his opponent's baby mama, is dark skinned, so, you know, she can't be, you know, cute as fuck and strapped, you know. You know, that's something else as well. But that's not a surprise, though. If you're talking about kids like this, then I'm pretty sure you're talking about adults like this, too. All right. All right. And again, what he was rapping about is more applicable to his daughters. So I'm like, why would you even rap about something like that? That doesn't even, that was kind of, is a bit weird and dumb, you know. But based on what I've seen from this dude, as far as him doing his live stream, he does seem kind of weird and dumb himself, right? But really, I do think that this is like, is this his like low-key way of telling the public like how he feels about his own dark-skinned daughters? You know, did he have a child, or did he have children with like a light-skinned woman and wanted the daughters to come out light-skinned like the mom? Because, you know, that's a thing. You know, it raises a lot of questions about what happens behind closed doors. That's what I'm really getting at. All right. And, you know, why does he feel so comfortable to say all this? Because he's really saying some foul, disgusting, sadistic, pedophilic, colorist, demonic shit out loud and in public. And again, you know, people let it fly. Within that black space that they were in, they let it fly. It was just like, you know, nothing new. You know, like, oh yeah. You know? And the thing is, you know, we had an example of a white battle rapper saying the N-word and being attacked and being punched in the face, I believe, right? It triggered them, right? When he said that, it triggered something in them that was like, no, that's not right. That's not cool. We got to stop that. We got to shut that shit down, right? Rightfully so, right? But it was like, where was that same energy at, though, when it came to this dude? Like, why ain't someone just come up and sock this dude in the face for saying all that bullshit? Because he was saying some really foul shit. It wasn't just like, oh, you know, light skin ugly, dark skin pretty. It wasn't just that. It was a lot more to it than just that, right? And his focus was on like 6-year-old girl too, and he was saying like he was going to like pimp her out and have her perform oral sex on 30 dudes, and then drag her if she tries to escape, and like stomp her like in her head or something. Like there's a lot of it was a violent aspect to that too, that very much is ignored, or either folks just don't talk about it. But sometimes on occasion, you do hear like a violent aspect when it comes to like colorist, particularly colorist black men against dark-skinned black women. Oftentimes there's a violent undertone in some of the things that they say, right? Like, oh, Kevin Hart, oh, dark-skinned women can take a punch in the face or something like that, right? Or another one, that black dude or dark-skinned dude that's on Joe Budden's podcast. He also made a whole bunch of tweets against dark-skinned women a while ago, and there was a violent aspect in the things that he said too, right? And now we have it with Georgio Casper, and there's other examples out there as well. These are just some of the ones I can name, excuse me, off the top of my head. But there were people in the crowd, though, oohing and ahhing. And that's very representative of how things, when colorist shit comes up, how it plays out a lot of times, particularly when it's against dark-skinned black women for some reason, and perhaps light-skinned black men too. But right now the focus is on dark-skinned black women, though. It's like very much people kind of just standing around oohing and ahhing, and it's a joke. It's very much just not addressed, swept under the rug. Oh, you're overreacting. It's not that serious, right? But let something like this happen against, say, the dark-skinned men. If they get a hit to their side, then it's like all hands on deck. It's like Wonder Twin powers activate. Black Wonder Twin powers activate. Black Voltron come together, right? It's like, this is colorist. We gotta stop this. We gotta address this. We gotta shut this shit down, right? And I'm not saying that we shouldn't have that attitude at all, and that's not deserving. But I'm just saying, like, where is that energy at when it's like the dark-skinned women who are the victims, though? Then it's like that energy is nowhere to be found, and then it's just like a whole bunch of deflecting and projecting and just sidestepping. All these niggas want to sidestep and pussy pop around the issue and shit, and a lot of times when the light-skinned woman or women be attacked, particularly if it's by like a dark-skinned woman, then it's like that's an issue, right? But again, as we've seen with the basketball wives, if it's the other way around, the light-skinned women going after the dark-skinned woman, then folks got excuses. Then it's the energy just ain't there for some reason. All right. And I know I saw some comments from some dark-skinned women on YouTube saying like, what did we do to y'all? And I'm like, woman, the thing is, you didn't do anything but just exist. It ain't about you per se. It's a deeper issue at play. So I don't want to see, dark-skinned women on some begging shit either. You ain't supposed to be doing that shit either. Especially not at this point. Especially considering all that the collective of black women, particularly dark-skinned brown-skinned black women have given to the community as a whole, you shouldn't be on some begging shit. If anything, they should be begging you. But that's a whole nother issue in itself, right? And I saw on the live stream that he did that he wasn't apologetic. He wasn't apologizing. He said like he might apologize before he did the live stream, but I don't think he ever apologized though. And it looked like he was low-key loving the attention. This is probably the biggest hit he's ever had in his career. And hopefully the biggest hit that he will ever have in his career. I don't think this dude has any sort of endorsement deals or anything popping off like that. Because I don't think so. I would say like, make sure you don't support anything that he's endorsing, or even go to the companies that have him as a spokesperson and say that we ain't gonna fuck with y'all if y'all fuck with him, something like that. I know some black women especially were reporting him to CPS because of the lyrics that he said. I heard that he was under investigation. I'm not sure how that's going. I'm not sure if that was just, rumor and hearsay, but I've heard about that as well. And, again, this is probably the most attention he's gotten for rapping, And some people will say, well, just ignore him. He's obviously just wanting attention. You shouldn't be giving him attention like that. And I do agree with that to an extent, right? To an extent, I do. Whereas, like, sometimes to an extent, you should ignore problematic people who are looking for attention. However, nevertheless, we still have to address the situation because the situation is bigger than him. There's more to it than just him, right? The situation is deeper than just him, right? Violence, whether sexual or other, against black women, especially dark-skinned black women, is normalized. Why? Like, where did that come from? Where does that come from? And I know some people will come through with like, oh, the system of white supremacy done brainwashed the black king. Done brainwashed him to go against the black queen. It ain't his fault. And I do think that there is some truth into that. But again, we do have to have, there is personal accountability in it, right? Because black women can say, oh, I'm a baby mama because of the system of white supremacy. And it's like, I'm sure the system of white supremacy played a factor in, some issues and whatnot. But it's like, well, we really don't use those excuses for black women who become baby mamas and have a whole bunch of kids out of wedlock. It's like, and also by men who are no good and don't provide for the kids. It's just like, well, you should have chosen better, right? The culpability and accountability is on her, right? So for this situation, the culpability and accountability needs to be on him and black men within his collective as well. Yeah, the system of white degeneracy does play a factor, but we do have agency, right? We do have options. We do make our own decisions, right? We do have to be responsible for our own decisions, right? So I don't want to hear that, all right? But as I said, violence against black women, especially dark-skinned black women, is normalized. We just saw not too long ago what happened to that black teenage girl that was jumped by 15 black boys in the city of New York. In New York City, a group of 15 black boys jumped at one black girl, right? We saw that happen because of the current public health crisis situation and probably just low-key a lack of concern. That story has fallen to the wayside. Right? We also know about the story where that Eurasian police officer That happened a while ago, but the Eurasian police officer, Daniel Holtzclaw, right? He specifically targeted black women to rape and sexually assault. All right. And during the trial, he said something to the effect of, oh, well, no one really cared about them. No one really is concerned about them. Basically saying, like, they were kind of like an easy target because no one really cares about black women like that. Right. So this shows you, like, this, like, other groups of people take notice. Right. And I know someone's going to come through and be like, oh, we shouldn't care what other groups of people think. To an extent, I agree with that, but also to an extent, we have to present a, what's the word? We have to, present a certain public image, first of all, but also set the tone for what is acceptable and what is not acceptable within our community and from others from other communities. We have to do that. That's a part of black people, especially black men, leading that charge, right? And as well, that whole situation with Gayle King and Snoop Dogg, right? See how comfortable he was to say something like that against Gayle King. Because it's kind of like, well, who really got black women's back like that, right? Who really concerned about black women like that? Because he didn't have to take it to the violent level, right? He didn't have to go there. He could have just said some insults and kept it moving. But he did like a threat of violence, right? And, black women were supporting. There were black women supporting that. And you have to be careful about those black women too. Because they ain't no good either if they coming through supporting something like that. Right? The baby hitting a female fan of his, that happened a while ago. Goddamn. R. Kelly, right? It was some black women defending R. Kelly. It was a black woman who bailed R. Kelly out of jail and posted bail for him, right? And R. Kelly, his victims were young, like teenage black women. Well, black girls. That's the thing too, where it's like these women, girls, are being treated as women. Like, even now, as I'm saying it, I have to make sure I correct myself, right? But they have been so adultified, if that's a word, are turned into adults and not allowed to be kids, not only by people outside of the community, but also in the community and even by other black women, Where it's like, oh, she fast, she knew what she was doing. And justifying it was like, yep, I was 15 and doing the same thing. It's like, but what about R. Kelly, though? He is growner than grown, goddamn it. He should know better. And it took white people to jump in, sad to say, but it took white people to jump in for R. Kelly to really start being held accountable and having some sort of punishment thrown at him. Because if it was up to black people, R. Kelly would be still walking around free. They wasn't going to put away R. Kelly. They like his music too much. Oh, they trying to bring a black brother down, So, yeah. And that's part of the reason why I do go in on the mammies to pick me the mules, the Black Cane cheerleaders so much, is because they are dangerous. They are predators. Well, they are predator protectors, right? They protect predators like R. Kelly, right? They protect, predators or potential predators like Snoop Dogg, right? They will, like, very much sabotage, progress for other black women, one way or another. And also, just in general, take note of who's trying to low-key and high key defend, Georgio Casper's fuckery. Take note of that, right? And as well for black men, I think black men will probably try to ignore this as a collective. They probably will just try to pretend like it doesn't exist, never happened. You know, they just act like they never heard of it or something like that. Or perhaps they'll try to defend it. You know, that's usually how it plays out anyway. It's either one of the two. Even if it just can't be defended, then it just ain't talked about. If it can be defended, or if you have to talk about it, then there's usually some way to defend it somehow, right? And it usually falls back on white supremacy, right? Or black women. Usually those are the two groups that are blamed, right? You know. And as I mentioned in previous videos, or at least one video, that there is a link, all right? There's a link that exists between colorism and sexual perversion, you know? And I know some people are going to take issues with that, and, I think but I was told this actually by a dark-skinned black woman who used to be on YouTube. I'm not sure if she's still on YouTube or not, but I think she still is. And she had brought it to my attention, and I was like, well. But then she started naming some examples and things like that. I was like, well, perhaps, But yeah, there is a link between colorism and sexual perversion that's not really talked about. I haven't really talked about it. It does fly under the radar. I haven't talked about it because I think if I were to talk about it, I don't know. It's like, you're going down a hole, and it's like, you don't know how deep this hole is, and you don't know if you want to continue down the hole, because it's like, well, how deep does this go? you know But yeah, a lot of the dudes that have been accused of colorism have either been caught up in some sort of sexual perversion shit, or either caught up in some like homosexuality rumors, at least. Think about it. A lot of these dudes, they either get caught up on some like fucking with like an underage girl or something, or caught up on some like sexual assault rape charges, like say a Kodak Black, all right, or perhaps having some sort of homosexual rumors about them, like say Offset, you know. And a lot of times colorists tend to treat black girls and even black boys as like adults and sexualize them. They sexualize the dark skinned dudes. Sometimes will sexualize like lighter skinned girls, who are underage. That's a thing. And sometimes even black women will sexualize black boys, particularly darker skinned black boys, in a sexualized way, like underage boys as a sexual thing. That happens too. YG, you remember when YG said like, oh, back at Nipsey Hussle's funeral, oh, we got some pretty dark skin. No, he said we got some pretty light skinned women. Or he almost said pretty light skinned bitches, but he said pretty light skinned daughters. He caught himself just before it fully slipped out. But yeah, right, him. Then we got Tyrese. He was singing sexual healing to his biracial daughter, right? Then perhaps T.I. too, because he's, very concerned about his daughter's hymen and their sexual activity, even more so than a normal father. Obviously, I'm not saying that he shouldn't be concerned at all, but, it's like a hyper concern. But I think that may also be because of like, karma and things like that too, that he being concerned that he's going to get his comeuppance, right? But yeah, Just things to think about right there. And and just on like a suggested tip, like, was the dude even rapping? Was that even a rap? I'm not a rap expert, but that didn't sound like it wasn't even like much of a flow going on though. Or a rhyme scheme, not much. It just turned into just insults. Just um, subhuman, low budget fuck nigga just insulting niggas in his Walmart t-shirt. And I know that that shit is from Walmart because I got the same damn t-shirt that I bought from Walmart. All right. That same damn t-shirt. All right. And for those of you who are wondering what the t-shirt actually says, it says, if you can read this, then you can clearly see how awesome I am. Yes. So yeah, he had the nerve to wear some shit like that too. Talking about how awesome he is. Right? Georgio, let me be the one to tell you. You are not awesome. You are deplorable. You are an embarrassment. You need to be kicked the fuck out. All right. But yeah, so I think I've mentioned all I've got to say for the time being. I don't want to go on for too long. And there's a lot of this conversation is like a lot of different aspects to explore within it. Definitely. Um, and I know like so many people, well, maybe there are people out there who will talk about it and come and address the issue in the situation from a lot of different aspects, you know. And for those of you who are interested, I'll leave a link in the description to a video that I did a while ago about, dark-skinned men's, you know, fascination, obsession, whatever you want to call it, with lighter-skinned biracial women specifically. That I did, where I kind of go through it a bit more in depth and break down some pathologies and reasonings behind why that is. Um, so if you're interested, I'm going to leave a link in the description to that video as well. And also, I do want to say this. Well, before I say that, I guess I can say I do think that we do have to start having more conversations about colorism. Of course, that's the reason why I help try to perpetuate the conversation in some way that I can. Obviously, I'm not a very popular YouTuber. I'm not trying to be a popular YouTuber per se, but nevertheless, I'm just trying to help perpetuate and push the narrative, or the conversation, I should say. Um, but I do think that we do have to start, in these discussions, we have to start naming names. We can't kind of just beat around the bush about it. We have to start naming names and naming people who are responsible for it, and who holds some accountability and holding them accountable, right? And, when it comes to, I'd say just in general, but I say specifically like dark-skinned men who project colorism towards dark-skinned women, I think that's a conversation that needs to be had very much. Because, people were bringing up the fact that you don't really see other groups of men really going after women like that in that particular aspect, as well. I know some people are going to take issues with me saying this, but you don't even see like lighter skinned black men or biracial black men going at their direct female counterparts, light skinned and biracial women, on that level, right? Like that. So obviously there's some issue at play, right? And if it don't apply, let it fly. Only a hit dog holler. So if it ain't you, all right. But also, if it ain't you, then how do you feel about the situation? You know, because I know some people, some dark-skinned black men have been in my comment section and have just admitted that it's not them, but they do see it, right? And it does embarrass them sometimes. And, you know, it triggers them, whatnot. And then there's others who will just try to deflect and just say, you know, it ain't like that, or either, oh, it's like a small percentage, right? So we shouldn't talk about it, you know. But yeah, and as well, one more thing before I go. Nothing goes viral coincidentally. Everything that goes viral for a reason. Because had the same subhuman nigga said very positive things about dark-skinned girls and women, this probably wouldn't have gone viral. Perhaps in the excuse me, perhaps in the black sector of YouTube, perhaps, or at least the black woman sector of YouTube or social media or whatever, it wouldn't have gone viral. Probably not. So you do have to know, like, you know, things, they go viral for a reason, you know, because this video it's not recent, it's been a while. So, like, why did it go viral now, you know? But I thank you very much for watching this video. Please let me know what you think in the comment section about all this, and I will see you in the next video. Adios and goodbye for now.